Let's welcome to the show from House Homeland Security, Congresswoman Cammack. Congresswoman, it's good to have you back on. You know, we've got civil rights activists and law enforcement nationwide warning that minorities and minority women and children are getting slammed by rising crime from weak-on-crime policies. But Congresswoman, New York Governor Kathy Hochul supports no cash bail, but then blames Republicans, saying Republicans are scaring people, that Republicans are doing a, quote, conspiracy. What do you say?
Well, it's just typical of the ultra-liberal left to try to point fingers when they themselves are the ones who are doing it. I remember in that infamous speech that Biden gave at the beginning of September with the eerie red lighting and, visions of, Mussolini. And he said that Republicans have no respect for the rule of law. I'm sorry, but aren't the Democrats the ones who are pushing for no cash bail, and they're funding their DAs with Soros money, and they're actively looking to defund police, and then on top of it working to strip law-abiding citizens of their Second Amendment rights? This is what the Democrats have done, and did they honestly expect no consequences? Yep. We have crime now higher this year than last year. Violent crime is higher than pre-pandemic. And all the while, instead of trying to work to make our community safer and support law enforcement, they're handing out free crack pipes. So I guess their message on the left is, if you have a problem, if you get into trouble, call a crackhead. That seems to be their message. Congresswoman,
experts estimate 65% of guns used by felons in prison were bought illegally. That's the problem, too. Spiking crime rates are forcing Americans to step up and act in self-defense, to fight crime on their own. Women, children, the elderly, even more vulnerable. This is not about vigilantism. This is about self-defense.
Absolutely. And anymore, as we're seeing more and more law enforcement retire, the retention is getting tougher. The recruiting is virtually impossible for law enforcement. Response times are increasing. In some of the rural areas around America, you're seeing upwards of double digits in minutes in terms of response times. This is what law-abiding citizens have as a right, the right to defend themselves, their families, their property. And all these gun control measures that the left has been taking do nothing more than empower the criminals.
It's about gang violence, too. It's also about gang violence. That's the issue.
We're seeing it. We're seeing it. Well, and look at what's happening at the southern border. There's no regard for law, as evidenced by the fact that we have close to 4 million people who have crossed the border illegally and are now in the country.
That's about the size of Kansas. That's about the size of Kansas.
Yeah,
okay, we're going to watch Democrat prosecutor James Glasgow. He's in Illinois. He's a Democrat. He's saying, wait a second, we've got Illinois getting set to do no cash bail. This is dangerous. You're going to also see on camera Americans talk about fighting against crime. Watch this.
I never in my 40 years in this profession ever thought I'd see anything close to this. Have you ever heard of any government ever passing a law to release everyone in their jails? No one's ever done that before. No one would ever think to do that. That would be suicide.
I went to the side of my bed and I grabbed our gun. He kicks the door in. As soon as he kicks the door in and tries to take a step in my house, that's when I shot him. And he ran off. If I didn't have any kind of weapons, I don't know what I would have did. I mean, that guy was kind of big, so I wouldn't have been able to fight him off. I've never thought I would have to shoot that gun, ever.
He ended up punching the 7-Eleven employee in the head. When I saw that happen, my instincts kicked in. I grabbed him, took him to the ground.
I didn't have time to be afraid. It was all fast. I mean, literally from the time they got out of that car to where they came in was at most 10 seconds. This isn't a good place to pick.
Crime is kind of rampant right now, so it's exciting, actually, to see that people are actually standing up for themselves and able to have a gun and be able to fire back.
Congressman, your reaction to what you just heard?
I mean, the increase in crime, of course, breaks your heart. In so many ways, it's not necessary. This was avoidable in so many ways. But people stepping up, exercising their Second Amendment rights, it's guaranteed, it's cut and dry, shall not be infringed. This is why it's so important that Congress fight every single gun control attempt, for the moms out there that are going to protect their families, for the business owners that are having to protect their business and their property and their customers.
It's about the right to self-defense. It's about the
they can
right to
protect.
it's about the right to self-defense and illegal guns that are on the streets. I mean, cops across the nation, after defund the police, there's staffing shortages. We've got a study, 45% increase, Congresswoman, in cop retirements, as they're having trouble recruiting. There's also this. Senator Tom Cotton went at it with a CBS anchor this morning. The senator wished Paul Pelosi the very best in full recovery and said, throw the book at his assailant. That's the simplest way to stop crime like this. Get tough on crime. Throw the book at the person who tried to assassinate Justice Brett Kavanaugh. Stop with the agitators protesting outside of, Justice's home. That's in violation of federal law. Stop the heated rhetoric from both sides. Stop it, including Senator Chuck Schumer, Senator Tom Cotton says, going to the steps of the Supreme Court and saying Brett Kavanaugh wouldn't know what hit him if he issued abortion rulings Chuck Schumer disagreed with. So the president is about to make a speech in about a half hour. It's about also the president, the voters are saying tone down the rhetoric. We need peace. We need to stop it with the vitriol pouring out. Your final word.
You know, that's exactly what I think every sane legislator and person has been calling for. Tone it down. We should condemn violence no matter who is saying it. But what we're seeing is a ratcheting up of that rhetoric. You know, where he's giving that speech, Union Station, my husband, who is a firefighter and a SWAT medic, he had a homeless man basically ambush him not too long ago in that very spot. So I find it ironic that he's doing a speech from a place that is littered with homeless and criminals who are really driving industry and businesses out of Union Station. So we'll see how he responds to that.
Okay.
But right now, we're seeing the crime wave gripping America. We got to get it under control.
Congresswoman Cammack, thanks for joining us tonight. It's good to see you.